Contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW Lope Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on the Cindy Cochran Show. Yeah, that's right. And we're so happy to have you. We were on a lot of platforms that you could actually listen to us and see us. And we've been going along just fine. And then we had this special guest on. I could not wait to have this guest on. He has so many important things to say. And something happened to the file. It was corrupted. And it sounded like we were drunk, and it was terrible. It was just the audio really messed up. And when I heard it, I went, "No, all people, not this person." But Chris Allen was my guest, and he was so kind to say, "That's okay, I understand. I'll just tell me when I need to be there, and I'll be there." And he is, and he's here, and it's today. And we've been talking about him coming on, and he has so much good information, especially for parents, grandparents of kids in school. And this can start like in the junior high and high school. He's seen it all. But right now, we're having a really tough time with the elevation of use of drugs, that some can put the kids in jail. And you might get that call that says the kid has been put in jail. And then what do you do? What do? You have never had this happen before. This kid has never shown any signs of doing anything like this, and I don't know what to do and who to call. Well, it's not Ghostbusters, but it is Chris Allen is someone that you might want to make sure you write this name down before this show is over, because if it happens to you, and if something like this goes on, then you'd be well to call Chris Allen, because he has his clients. This is how I researched Chris and wanted to know what his clients was said about him. And he has this whole huge chapter of people just going on and on about him. And I mean, it embarrassed me. I said, this guy is so incredible. And he's somebody that is just, you have a feeling of everything's going to be fine as soon as you meet him. And as soon as you talk to him, you know it's going to be fine, because it's really important. It's emotional and all that, but he's very calming and all. So I'm going to introduce you to him, and we're going to start talking about some of the things that are going on right now in our schools and in the country, all over the place. And so, but he will help us right here in Conroe, and he's one of the most popular lawyers, criminal lawyers in Conroe. It's funny to say a popular criminal lawyer, but he is. And I will want to introduce you right now. So Chris Allen, thank you so much for being here and coming back.
Thanks for having me here.
Oh my goodness.
I hope we don't sound drunk today.
I know I was trying to sit up and not laugh so much. But you talked at so many different levels of things that everybody needs to know. And the principals have been just overwhelmed with what's been going on. I know you've heard about this, and of course you're involved in it pretty heavily. And so how do people find you? They want to find you and they want to get in touch with you. Let's get that out of the way so people get your pencils and papers ready. How do they find you?
Well, our website would be www.conroecriminaldefenselawyers.com. Phone number 936-539-5522. Share a law office with my partner Bill Patillo, and we're right downtown on the square in Conroe. So
you're within walking distance of the courts and everything.
Directly across the street.
It's like, did you buy a car or anything? You're just like, no, honey, drop me off, and
right.
And it's everywhere. You can go everywhere right there. But and you've been in practicing law for
21 years.
21 years.
9 years as a prosecutor here in all in Montgomery County. 9 years as a prosecutor in Montgomery County. The last 12 as a criminal and juvenile defense lawyer.
Okay. Okay. So you had it with the adults, and you decided I'm going to try and get them earlier.
Well, we do everything, but
Yeah.
we also have a contract with the county to handle all juveniles who can't afford to hire a lawyer, and so
That's.
it's kind of one of our niche areas.
I think that's. I mean, that's so wonderful. Not only is the parents or the grandparents shocked by what some having their child in jail, they then have to decide, how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to make this happen?
Sure.
And because they want the best for their kids, they'll start selling the house. They'll start, a lot of times, and to whatever it takes to make sure their kid gets out of jail and gets out. So when you get that call, or when the parent or the grandparent gets that call that you're going to need to go to the jail, your child was arrested at school because we caught him with
THC.
C. Why can't I remember? I know TH. I finally figured that out. So it's like but it's THC, and if they have so much of it, even it's not that much, but if they have enough of it, they will be. Or I guess it's anything if they have any of it.
For THC, which is a component of regular marijuana, but if it's pure THC, any amount of it is a felony, and so. If it's one cartridge, I know everyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, but if it's one cartridge, which is a gram or less, it's a felony.
Well, that's when I heard we talked about being one cartridge. I'm thinking of the old ink pens that had the cartridge, the ink cartridge, and I'm going like, no, I can't figure that out. How much would that be? And it's just a very small amount, but it doesn't matter. You're going to be charged with a felony.
With a felony, sure. And if you've got if you have two cartridges, you're looking, if you're a young adult or an older adult, whatever, I mean, you're looking at a third-degree felony, which is 2 to 10 years in prison. If you have less than a gram, you're looking at 6 months to 2 years in a state jail facility.
And people just are not at all educated to this, especially if their kids are in school and this happens while they're in school, because they're thinking they're studying the arithmetic and
Sure.
English, and not how many grams can I get.
Right, and that's where we're seeing the majority of the cases come from. Unfortunately, are the schools. Now, schools have implemented policies and things the best they can, like they have vape sensors in the bathroom, and of course the kids don't know that, and so they go in there and take a little hit off one of those cartridges, and next thing they know, they're in the back of a police car and then sitting in county jail with a bunch of guys that they're not used to being around.
No, these are not your grandmother's cousins or anybody. This is be people that you're going to have to deal with. And what's interesting is that not ever seeing the inside of a jail. And they used to have programs. Do you remember the programs, Scared Straight?
Sure.
And they would take kids in there that may be on the borderline, or maybe somebody that has a behavioral problem, and take them through there. Have you ever witnessed any of that?
So when I was a prosecutor, especially as a juvenile prosecutor, which I spent part of my time doing, and this was way pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic they've kind of curbed all that because everyone has to be tested going in and everything. But they would do Scared Straight programs over at the Juvenile Detention Center, and dress them out in the clothes they have to wear, show them the underwear they have to wear, show them the food they'd have to eat, show them the cells they'd have to stay in, and it really made a big impact. Unfortunately, it's not as feasible anymore.
Is it because the money, what it costs to do that?
No, they just have protocols now, post-pandemic, where they would have to test every single person that came in, and
okay.
Collectively it's just a nightmare for the detention facility, and so I get that, but it did make a big impact.
It was. Then when they finally put it on TV, it was like, yikes. That was good, but I'm certain it wasn't as scary as it was in person.
In person makes a very big difference when you hear those iron doors clinging and you see the actual people that are in there, and it makes a much, much bigger impact.
Yeah, because these aren't actors; these are people that are really there.
No, that's right.
For being there, and I've spoken to a minister who works in Huntsville, in the prison there, and he said it was an eye opener. It was all the, you stand there in front of the churches that he said I stood in front of and talked to and all that, and this is like a whole new world, because you keep thinking, oh, that's all you did? You just stole and fell. That's good, because, wow, it could have been so much worse. He was getting connected to people that had done horrible. Just you
Sure.
didn't want to think about it, what they're doing, and then he'd go back to the church, and the people would talk about how they forgot, and they had a pencil that they took out of Target, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know, will I still go to heaven? And so it's interesting. He said you need to kind of sometimes get yourself into that world, but you don't want to be, but you want to understand why Jesus says go visit the prison, go visit the people in jail, do that for the sick and for all the different things that you need to do, because you need to understand how blessed you are sometimes, and the things aren't as bad as you think they are.
If you go into adult prison, and I've been there to either see clients or on a tour for, continuing education, you'll see that these are two totally different worlds. And if you think a visit at the juvenile detention center is scared straight, when you walk into TDC adult prison, that's scared straight.
Oh man, I'm so glad that you have whatever it takes to be able to handle and deal with that kind of things, because that's got to take a special person to do it. And I know lawyers have had a bad rap a lot of times. I remember growing up, and there was like really cruel jokes about lawyers. Do you remember that? I don't know, the 80s or what it was, but it was like a string of them.
Oh, it was beyond that. I assure you.
When you were going to college and you wanted to be a lawyer?
Right. Oh, no, since I've been a lawyer. But we get a bad rap until someone needs us.
Yes.
Or someone
I'm
needs
sure.
us for their kid or grandkid or whoever it might be. And then they're calling and begging and pleading, and can you save my child or my grandchild or whoever? And
That's right.
And then they love us.
Sure, yeah. It's like the policemen. I know that it's so difficult for them, because they, when they have to stop kids, they're speeding and they stop them, and the kids just hate them for the way they're treated by these cops. But they got to go home that night, and they weren't killed in a car wreck or anything.
Right.
So it's like, just like you said, though, when something gets dangerous and you need help, that's who you're going to call, is
Right.
the police officer, and you hope to get there really fast, too. And so, but you see, you have got, I guess, front row seat watching how the government is so, I guess, affecting so many of the different cities and stuff, and the cash bail and the people that are going in and out so many times. Does it frustrate you I don't know if you watch the news, you may not even watch the news at all, but does it frustrate you to watch how negligent they are in letting these criminals, as they bring them in, let them out?
So that answer would depend. For really low-level offenses and first-time offenders, no, I want them out as quickly as possible. I understand the community or society's concerns about repeat offenders getting out so easily. I'll tell you that doesn't happen here in Montgomery County
Yes.
the way it does in Harris County. I'm not
Or in
disparaging any
Chicago,
county, right?
or New York,
Right, but
Right.
We get something in. I don't want to get deep in the weeds here, but in our discovery, and it'll be called a probable cause sheet, and that's what's signed at the jail, and it'll have the bond amount on there, and it'll say reason for bond, and it'll say criminal history, and it'll list it, and that's why that that bond would be so much higher than a first offender's bond
Right.
who went in on the same type of crime. So they certainly take that into account here in Montgomery County.
Well, why does that make sense to somebody like me, and it doesn't make sense to like the district attorney's office or the people that have the called and the judges and stuff? I don't.
Well, like I say, it does here. It makes sense to them because they do it. I don't know if it's an overcrowding issue in the bigger metropolitan areas or what it is. I can't speak for like the
Right.
DA of
Right.
a huge city.
But if you were the DA, that's what I always think of. Boy, if I was the DA, they would they would never see the seamen on the street again, because it just doesn't make sense that how many crimes they committed, and yet they keep coming out. And I don't know what kind of acting ability they may have. Is it the way that they present themselves to? Now, I'm not talking about Conroe, because they're going to be pretty strict. They're going to say, look, you've done this many, we know you're going to do it again.
Well, I can tell you this: if even in Montgomery County, I mean, if they kept everyone in who had committed crimes previously, they'd have to build 4 more jails. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine what the overcrowding situation is in a bigger city.
So even in Montgomery County, if somebody comes in and does steals, and they're caught stealing, and they say they'll never do it again, and they promise, and so they say, okay, we'll let you out on bond, and it's a low bond, and then the person never shows up. Now, at that point, do they go like, okay, we're never going to give you that second chance again, or you're not going to get that second chance?
So the way that would work is, first of all, a warrant would issue for their arrest if they didn't show up for court. And then once they finally got picked up, whether they turned themselves in or whether they got stopped for a speeding ticket and there was a warrant and they had to go to jail, they would be placed on a no bond, which means you can't get out of jail. So then they would need to get a lawyer. Lawyer would file a motion to set a bond with the court, and then the court would decide what that bond would be. Or sometimes, if someone misses court, say in a misdemeanor court, instead of a no bond, the court would set the bond at maybe $10,000 when their original bond was $500.
Right.
Which is going to be cost prohibitive for a whole lot of people.
Sure.
To get out on.
Well, it seems like, that is that's how we do business. If you break the law, then you need to go to jail and keep you off the street so you don't do it again. And then because they said, just like you were talking about the overcrowded part of it, are they building more jails right now? Are they here? What are they doing here?
They've expanded here. I would just push back a bit with you.
Okay.
In that, when you say that they go to jail for committing a crime, they go to jail for allegedly committing a crime.
Oh, allegedly. I did not use. I am so sorry.
And so, well, no, that's fine. And that's one reason that there's a bond system, is because everyone's entitled to a defense, because they are not guilty when they're arrested. There's different levels of. There's probable cause to arrest, and then there's proof beyond reasonable doubt to convict. And it's helpful to us as defense lawyers to have our clients out so that they can assist in their defense, as opposed to us going and waiting at the jail for 2 hours to try to talk to a client for 10 minutes or something like that. But there's also offenses where, or repeat offenders where it's not going to be as feasible to get them out on a smaller bond.
Well, do you see, to me, I live in Willis, but do you see that from Willis to Conroe and then you go to Houston, the huge difference, is it because it's so much more restrictive here, and you better not mess up, and so they may walk the walk, not talk the talk.
So
no.
We've had a lot of very serious criminal allegations come from people who lived in Harris County and then came up to Montgomery County. And to your point, and ironically, oftentimes we'll hear on the officer's dash cam microphone that they wear, they said, "Which county are we in?" Because they're hoping they're still in Harris County and not Montgomery County. They're like, unfortunately, you're 2 miles past the Montgomery County border.
Well, we used to joke about, Shenandoah was always the scary part. You don't want to drive anywhere near Shenandoah with, doesn't matter how many miles over the speed limit
No.
you are, you're going to go right there. And I did a video for my church. We were talking about obeying the law and all that stuff. So I had a person driving through Shenandoah, and there's a sign Shenandoah, and the police pulls them over. And they said, "You know that you were doing 48 and a 45, so you're going to jail. I don't care what you thought. You thought it was," and everybody just laughed so hard you could tell everybody felt the same way about Shenandoah. So they had, at least they had captured the intelligence of people who thought, "I'm not going to go."
No, people knew.
Yeah, they hadn't. It was word of mouth, I guess, because everybody knew that you don't mess with them.
Right.
And I think our state troopers, you have the same feeling like, "Oh, that can't. Oh, please don't be a trooper." But they think it's going to be better for it to be a policeman than it's like a state trooper. And the degrees we have: the sheriff, the constable.
And then you've got a police agency for every municipality. Like you've got Conroe PD, you've got Willis PD, you've got Montgomery PD, every
Right.
municipality throughout the county.
And it's funny, people, I would think if I was a criminal, I would look at the guy that looks like he's driving the car that is the, almost like the security guard at school. Like he's the police person at the school. That's no big deal. And they could feel like, you're nothing. But they see at levels of I guess, whatever they decide is, the bad news cops are going to be.
Well, that's accurate. And by bad news, I assume you mean that they're going to be better investigators.
They're going to be so tough. They're not.
They're going to know the law very specifically. And I mean, it's rare to find any, I don't mean bad agencies, but less qualified agencies in the county. But when you're talking about troopers, you're talking about, kind of the top of the food chain as
Right.
far as law enforcement goes.
Right. And what all we have, I think a lot of people don't realize, I had to do videos of all the things like the SWAT teams and you've got these cars that look like normal police cars and at a scene, and you're waiting there, and all of a sudden here comes the SWAT team, and you're like, "Oops!" And it's like everything just changed. Everybody's heightened. Here comes the SWAT guys, and the dogs come, and then and so we have all of that. We probably don't need to use it as much as Harris County may, but
Right.
We do have it, and our people are trained for that, right?
Sure, and the SWAT team here is a sort of a collaborative effort amongst different agencies, and they train specifically to be SWAT officers, and they're called in for when you've got someone inside who allegedly has a gun, won't come out, those sorts of things. We've got canine units both for tracking people on the ground, but also we have but law enforcement has canine officers who will be deployed to traffic stops when there's reasonable belief that there's drugs in the car, and they can do a lap around the car, and they're trained to sniff out drugs, and they're trained to alert exactly where the drugs are in the car, and then that'll give police probable cause to search the car. And then I know back when I was a prosecutor, I worked in a grand jury for a while, and they would bring an officer in with his canine, and before the canine would come in, the officer would go plant some sort of drugs in the room in a very remote spot, and without fail, that dog found it.
That's so awesome. I'd love to see that. but let's get back to the schools, because I do want to say that I've seen the dogs go into the school, and the students certainly don't know that they're coming, and so they do these spot checks. Surprise, we're going to walk the dog through this classroom, so I hope you don't have anything. But they don't do that. They just the dogs come in, and they sniff something out, and that's it. And so they're trying to do the surprise thing, and but I was wondering, would you counsel parents, grandparents, anyone, to go through their child's backpack, just to say, look, I'll either do a drug testing on you, or we're going to go through your backpack and make sure this is going to happen right now, and you don't know anything about it. Make them dump out the backpack.
Absolutely. And I would go beyond that. And I have a child. He's only 9, but I would not hesitate. And he happens to be a wonderful child, so I don't think I would have that problem. But a lot of people think that.
Sure, of course.
And so I would go through your child or grandchild's room.
Right.
Make sure nothing's there, because, I have so many parents and grandparents that come in and say, there's no way it was my child, and sure enough, well, here's the evidence that it was your child, and
right.
If it wasn't your child, why don't we go get a drug test done or a hair follicle test done, and you'll see the child or young offender just kind of lower their head like, okay, let's not do that.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, that's what I think that is scary for them, is that if they had the fear of God put in them about you don't know when you're gonna be tested. Mm-hmm. You don't know when this is gonna happen to you. But this school is being, hovered with a lot of people that are watching everything, and we have ways to find you. We're going to find you, okay? So it's best if you either give it up now, or just don't do this until you get to be of age and you can do whatever you want to. That's fine. You're out of our jurisdiction, maybe. But if you do this and we catch you, this is what's going to happen to you. I wonder if they're not putting you in there to talk to them. A police officer is like they may not listen to them. I mean, they may just cut them all out because of the it's not the fear of the police officer, but it's just I don't trust you. I don't think you have my best interest at heart.
So I feel like that's more the role of the prosecution than the defense. I mean, I obviously wouldn't have a problem talking to kids about all this stuff.
Right.
But, it's the prosecutors who, when a child or a young adult or anyone in a school gets arrested, it's their job to prosecute the case. But and I did this as a prosecutor. I'd go out and speak to schools and explain to them, and this was pre-THC and all that stuff. This was years ago, more than a dozen years ago. And so, but talk to them about, here's what could happen, X, Y, Z. If you're 17 years old, you're an adult, you go to big boy jail. Mm-hmm. And that's even worse than juvenile detention. But anyone from 10 up until the age of 16 can be prosecuted as a juvenile and locked up in a juvenile detention facility.
10?
From 10 years old.
Ay, ay, ay.
And I would be lying to you if I hadn't said I've seen 10-year-olds in baby handcuffs in front of a judge.
Oh. Now, see, that would scare the life out of the parents, the grandparents. And if they just had one more chance, I'll watch over him. I'll do everything I can to keep him from doing this again. And it must be heartbreaking to have to.
Sure, and typically in those cases, it's not like, hey, a 10-year-old got caught with one card of THC. They're gonna probably send them home, talk to the prosecutor about it. Usually these really younger kids, and this makes it even sadder to me, deal with mental health issues, and either diagnosed or undiagnosed or medicated or not medicated.
Right.
And usually involves assaultive behavior in the home, and a grandparent, just doesn't know what else to do.
Right.
And then when they call the police, they think, okay, they can come out and scare little Billy straight, and the next thing they know, their little Billy's in the back of the police car going to the detention facility.
Well, that's why, being prepared. We always talk about so many different things that we want to be prepared for. We have to, educate ourselves and all that. And the last thing you think of having to educate yourself is something like this. And so if people understood that if they get that call, then they need to find a lawyer, because the lawyer will probably not say or do things that may get you the parent or grandparent put in jail too, because they get so mad and so emotional about this. And so you need someone to talk for you. And you've told your clients, this is the last time, or that was the last time you have to talk to anybody, because I will do all the talking from now on.
Oh, that's right. And not only will I do the talking, through the prosecution or to the judge or to whomever, but, half my job, especially with younger offenders, is, easing the fear of parents or grandparents that this is going to be okay. This is the first offense. We can take care of this without ruining anyone's future, without anyone going back to jail, and I try to spend quality time, especially in the initial consultation, easing the fears of both my client and their guardians or parents or grandparents.
I guess you really do get to be the psychiatrist of the group, the therapist of the group. But when you have, if the student, the one who has committed this crime, has got an attitude or has this, feeling like, I don't care, it doesn't matter, that kind of thing. That's got to be difficult. Parents are going to be scared, they'll do whatever you say. And then sometimes your students will be that way. But when you have those that do not care and they just don't, they're not going to do what you say.
So, yeah, my consultations are different depending on, my initial read of the younger offender. And if they haven't been locked up yet and they've just been charged with some sort of crime, I say, hey, if you want to have that attitude, I'll see you in court, but you're going to be in an orange jumpsuit and shackles and handcuffs. And hopefully that snaps into them, but some it doesn't. And those are tough cases to deal with.
That's got to be, because this is their chance.
Right.
And when you tell them that you've done this before this many years, and this is how the court looks at this, is if you've never done anything, then we're going to have an easier chance of if you'll follow this program and do what you're supposed to do, because you said that they have to. The schools are going to put them into a DEMI. I can't.
And there's a DAEP, and then there's a JJAEP.
School for them to
alternative schools.
Alternative school, and in that case, it's like going to boot camp.
Similar. Years ago, decades ago, actually, our JJAEP, the most restrictive alternative school, pretty much was a boot camp. And there were some issues, and now it's still really strict. It's uniforms, it's metal detectors, it's walking straight lines with hands behind your back, it's you can't speak to your classmate, it's all that kind of stuff. So, it's very restrictive, but it's also very effective. Because kids are used to, unfortunately, running roughshod over whoever they want in their home campus, and that's just not going to happen at a school like that.
No, and in fact, this principal had told me that kids come back and say, why can't we have all of the high schools do the same thing? Why is it just y'all? Why can't you do this with everybody? And I said, well, you need to go talk to your go talk to your school and see what they have to say about it. But it really, because they understand it. I've had the boundaries set, and I know what they are, and I'm going to abide by that so I can get out of here.
Right.
But during that, they have no distractions. They're able to study. They're able to do better in school and that kind of thing. So it is difficult to understand.
It's great
why we can't get
on that end, as far as, they're not going to have access to any of the drugs in school or anything because there's searches when they come in. But and RJJAP does a wonderful job, but it's difficult. I had a kid years ago who got caught up with a fairly big drug case, but he was also a brilliant kid, and so he walks into JJEP the first day and says, "Where's my calculus textbook?" He's 16. They're like, "Well, we don't have any calculus textbooks." So they just kind of have to teach
Right.
each age group the same, and so
Right.
that can make it more difficult. But it's also a reason, an incentive for them to get out and get back into the regular educational program. So, if they're wanting to go to college or whatever it
Exactly.
is, they can get those credits that are necessary.
Right. That's exactly right. But I think it is. It's great that we do have that. We have that,
Absolutely.
and we have that in Willis. They have a academy, Stubblefield, and then they have a Hope Academy as well. So they keep giving these kids chances. We want you to do well, but this is what you're going to have to do to be able to
Right.
to have that graduation for across the stage or whatever you want to do. But I think that it's I know that the pandemic, and I hate to blaming everything on the pandemic.
Sure.
But I think it did extract a lot from the kids that were just teetering and all that. That's all they needed was be pushed over the edge.
Right.
Is that, and so they lost and the narrative of the news media and all that keep giving them the fodder of saying it's all our fault. It's all the government's fault. It's all, you had nothing to do with this. And they didn't have anything to do with it, and they were having to be put into totally different situations than they were used to, and the way they learned and all that. And then all of a sudden it's totally different. Well, what do you expect? That's going to happen. But it's just, there's a lot of ways you feel like as you stand back, and now that we've looked at it again, that maybe they need to handle it differently if we have another one of these things. And please don't lie to us and don't make us think something that you don't even know what you're talking about. Just say, I don't know what I'm talking about. We're trying to find this out together, guys.
Right.
But because of all the stuff that's come up lately, and we see how long we wore those masks and how long we, did the things we had to do, and maybe it wasn't all necessary.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's sort of out of my realm of expertise.
I know, but here it doesn't matter.
Right? I can just espouse whatever I want.
That's exactly right, because I will not judge you. I've been taught in church not to judge anybody. But I sit here and just judge our administration. But anyway, I think that if people understood, so you get a call and it's devastating to you, but there's hope. There is hope.
Sure.
And it's in Chris Allen. And if you'll give him the call and tell him what the deal is, and he will take away all your fears. Is that stating it too much?
No, I will do my best to take away all your fears.
There you go.
It's a situational thing, and there's certain clients, especially not young offenders, some of the older offenders, and they may have a criminal record, and at that point I'm trying to just sort of temper expectations. Not, hey, I'm certainly going to get you out of this, but we're going to get you to a place that's manageable, or if it's a person with an addiction issue, we're going to get you the help you need. If it's a person with mental health needs, we're going to get you the help you need. And so I try to,
That's great. Yes. Well, see, you're offering hope, and when they come in there, they feel like there is none.
Oh, sure.
My child is in jail right now, and you're telling me about everything's going to be rainbows, and it's not going to be that way because I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have the money. I can't make this happen. But you're coming in, and you guys are taking people that younger people, and their families may not be able to afford,
Right.
the lawyers that will come after you.
Yeah, so there's 3 lawyers that are on our contract, my law partner, and then a colleague of ours named Darren Ray, and we handle all the families of juveniles who can't afford a lawyer.
Well, it's funny because when people walk into a court, it's so cold, and cold in the sense that the lawyers and the judges and the people that are taking notes and stuff like that, they all have seen this. They see it all the time.
Right.
And so it's like, this is nothing to them, but this is like going into quadruple heart surgery for the person walking in going, I don't know what's going to happen to me. And but when you tell the person that you don't have to say a thing, I'll do all the talking.
Right.
It's like, just calm down, and we'll take care of this. And you do have a very good success rate. So I'm not saying, of course, makes everybody feel like, oh, this is going to be nothing.
Right.
It's just that you do have that, and that speaks volumes to anybody
Well, I
coming in
appreciate
there. So I think you've done great, and I'm so appreciative that we have you here in Conroe. You're not thinking of going anywhere or anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
Born and
that's
raised here.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's good.
Except for my 4 years out in Abilene for college and 3 years in Lubbock for law school, I've been in Montgomery County for the rest of my life.
Wait a minute. Did you go to Abilene?
Abilene
Christian?
I did.
So did Richard, and that's so funny. So you've been to heaven, and that's as everybody would say. I'm going to heaven. You're going to ACU. Oh my goodness, that's great. But and then Lubbock, that's where my sister lives. And so did you practice there at all?
No, just went to law school for 3 years there.
Oh, okay.
Came straight back to the district attorney's office here in Montgomery County as a prosecutor. Transitioned over to the county attorney's office. That's when I started prosecuting juveniles, which was at times sad, but at times rewarding experience. It's a whole lot different
Right.
than prosecuting adults.
Oh, right. Oh, yes. Because there's some chance that you
No,
might
that's
be able
right.
to make that path change, and
No, that's right.
for the rest of their life, they'll be praising your name.
and that's the same way we feel about our defense work with juveniles and young offenders. It's like, hey, let's take you from here to that straight line, and with our counsel, and ultimately putting fear into them a lot of times.
Right.
It's like, here's where you don't want to be.
Right, and this is a smaller, it's not like living in Houston. You
Sure.
feel like I can get lost in Houston.
Right.
But here, we'll find you.
Right.
And that's what you want to always put the fear of that into them. But so parents, you need to look at those backpacks, and when they don't least expect it, go through the backpacks and look and see what they're doing. And then the rooms, I love going to the rooms and walking in the rooms. And if they say, "Oh, you don't need to come in here," because if they're insistent you don't come in, well, you may have to.
There's
Especially go in.
probably a reason for
There's
that.
probably a reason why. And so I'm just telling you that all those things that going with the teenagers, you feel like this is enough that they're a teenager, for crying out loud. Now I've got to worry about this. But it is something that you could stop. And if this is the first time it's happened with them, then you've got a better chance of getting them scared straight and getting them out of this. And you need a lawyer like Chris Allen. So we thank you so much. And we're going to go to a quick break. And but I can't tell you how much I've appreciate your time, because I know you guys are busy.
We are.
And but we want to educate the parents and let them know that there is a silver lining on this stuff if you get there in time.
Well, I appreciate the forum.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and we will be right back. You're listening to the Cindy Cochran Show, and our sponsor is Chris Wootton, and I forgot to thank him at the beginning. I was so excited about Chris Allen being here. But thank you, Chris Wootton, for being our sponsor, and the Wootton Financial Group is going to help calm your fears about retirement and what to do with your money and how to grow that money. And that's what everybody that has any money wants to hear. So we'll be right back. You're listening to the Cindy Cochran Show, Real Reality Radio.
Every week, people ask the same two questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootton with Wootton Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootton Financial Group's process in helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran Show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootton Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootton Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
This program is sponsored by the Wootton Financial Group. It is not the intent of Wootton Financial Group to render or offer personalized investment advice or financial planning advice through this radio program or any related website. Wootton Financial Group's participation in this program is limited to providing general information on financial matters and should not be construed as financial recommendation or investment advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Game Plan Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the state of Texas. Insurance services are offered through Wootton Financial Group, Inc. Game Plan Advisors and Wootton Financial Group, Inc. are affiliated through common ownership, and neither firm is affiliated with The Cindy Cochran Show. No listener should assume that any information presented and or made available on this program serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized individual advice from Game Plan Advisors, Wootton Financial Group, or any of their representatives.
And you're back on the Cindy Cochran Show. That was Chris Allen, one of the most popular lawyers, criminal lawyers here in Conroe, Texas. And I hope that you never have to call him. But if you do, it'll just help you. You just won't believe how you will be someone that will have knowledge, and you will have that kind of strength that comes from the truth and what needs to be done, and you'll know. And that's happening in Conroe, Texas. We have great lawyers, but Chris Allen is just someone that I've met, know, and he's really good, and he has a good reputation. Okay, so tomorrow we've got Brianna Donahoe, and Brianna is she's a single mom. She has done all those struggles, and she has a great job, of course, now, and she's just someone who's at church. She does like everything. She helps and is very strong in her church, and so she's just a good all-around person and so down to earth. And when you meet her tomorrow, you're going to go, oh, I love this lady. She knows so much about everything, but she loves sports. And it's so funny to have somebody like her be able to just rattle it off. And she takes whatever company she works with, she'll take them into fantasy football and have them all, educated in that and making money off of fantasy football. And here's a woman, and all the guys come and ask her, what do you think about this and what do you think about that? So it's really interesting and to have someone like that. And she loves the Astros, and I do too. So I can't wait to talk to her about what she thinks is going to happen, things that are coming up, and how they're looking and all that stuff. And she has been to the Houston Texans camps and stuff like that. Not in the camp, but she goes and watches, and it's so cute. So that's Brianna Donahoe, and she'll be here tomorrow. And so I guess I gotta let everybody go. Richard, are you okay? Okay, he's okay. I know he's so quiet all day. And tomorrow it will be so much fun. She's a blast. So be with us. And first responders, we just want to tell you so much that we love you, we respect you, we just admire you so much. And so never feel like they don't get me. They're so mean to me and all that. They're not. We love you, and even more, God loves you. And so call somebody that you love, guys. Call and don't. And I guess tomorrow will be my weekend eve, and we'll talk about what we're going to do tomorrow about that. Okay. I will see you, and thank you again, Chris Wootton, for being our sponsor. We love you so much for being our sponsor. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.